All right. So welcome, Elaine. What's going to go live session. So let's jump straight into today's email with our daily quote. Bit of teaching around that, which will prepare us nicely to look at today's workbook lesson. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen with you. You can read that headline quote by C.S. Lewis, please.
If I find in myself desires which nothing in this world can satisfy, the only logical explanation is that I was made for another world.
Oh, it's an interesting take on it.
Mm.
So C.S. Lewis was a British author. He wrote a series of books about another
Ah,
fantasy world,
yes,
Narnia.
yes, read them.
Which I loved the Narnia books, particularly
Yes.
the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And
Oh,
that's
yeah,
just
I did as well. That was lovely.
so
I
read it
remember
about
it.
10 times. But it's actually, I mean, I didn't realize it at the time, but that story is the Christ narrative. It's
Oh,
about the lion who gets crucified and resurrects, isn't it? So it's the Christ story
mm.
come through in that, and I was fascinated with that particular one. I think for that reason, I didn't, fully understand it at the time. So I was just a kid, but there was something about it that really gripped my imagination. So he was telling the Christ story again of the resurrection from death through the book. He was a Christian. Um, so he points out here the seemingly obvious but often overlooked fact that if there is a desire within us for something that clearly cannot be satisfied by anything in this world, this must mean that we're not made for this world. It's fairly logical. Okay, I have this desire for something deeper. Well, I think everyone has it. Many people may deny that they have these kinds of desires, but if you're perfectly honest about it, that you must then admit that there have been times, perhaps most of the time in your life, that you felt you didn't really belong in this world and
Oh,
you
yeah.
yearned for something else,
Yes.
although you
Oh.
may not have been clear about what that something else was.
Mm.
And I think this is really what distinguishes a spiritual seeker, someone who's really actively seeking the truth, from someone else, is that there's this yearning for something else, something deeper. And the spiritual seeker honors that. They go, okay, I'm going to listen to that yearning and I'm going to let that guide my thoughts and my words and my actions. And it's going to direct a search for this something else that I'm yearning for. I don't quite know what that is, especially when we're children and teenagers and young adults. We don't really know, do we? It's like, but there's just
Yeah.
something missing in our
Yeah.
experience, and we seek it. The ego is very cunning. It can twist that and say, okay, well, seek. You'll find that in a special relationship, or you'll find that in your work life, in your career, or find that in success, in money and possessions, in substances, and so on. And this is why people get, addicted to various things, because they're seeking to meet a deeper yearning, and then the ego directs that into an inappropriate channel. And obviously that's not going to work. So the sense of alienation this world produces and the related yearning for a deeper experience of something else is the source of all spiritual teachings and practices. After all, if this world were completely satisfying to every person who lived in it, there would be no need to consider whether there's another reality, would there,
Mm.
besides this physical universe, and actively try to find it, both of which are fundamental activities people undertake when they follow any spiritual path. So it's precisely because this reality is not satisfying that we seek. So the Buddha, noticed this quality of dissatisfaction in the world, and he called it dukkha. 2,500 years ago, he said, there's this dissatisfaction with life that most people are not satisfied. So it's not a new phenomenon. He just noticed it and he named it. And this is why spiritual teachings and practices have existed for the entire history of humankind, to answer the yearning that everyone in this world feels for their true spiritual home. How do we know this? You might ask, because there's evidence in rock paintings from many different parts of the world that human beings were engaging in practices like trance dancing, various shamanic rituals, long before recorded history began, around 12,000 years ago. So, these paintings date back tens of thousands of years to prehistory, before people could write, but they could paint, and they painted these pictures on caves, and you can see they did these trance dances very, very clearly. They depicted, and they would ask for guidance from their ancestors or spirits, whatever they believed in, to help them in whatever they were undertaking. So typical one was if they were going on a hunt, they would do a shamanic trance dance the night before the hunt to prepare themselves. And they would go into, a deeper state of awareness, and they would connect with spirit, and they would ask for guidance in finding, the animal, and they would, usually they were quite respectful. So they would bless the spiritual animal and say, we're sorry we have to do this, but we have to eat. So it wasn't just, killing for killing's sake. So these shamanic rituals are the oldest form of spiritual practice on the planet, and an integral part of all indigenous cultures. And these cultures, the shamans, were revered as the spiritual leaders, teachers, prophets, and healers of their tribes. And their unusual gifts that gave them insight into another world or reality were accepted as being of great benefit to the tribe. The shaman was really the most important person in the tribe, and the chiefs, political leaders of the tribe, women. So they were kind of the power behind the political power in that tribal structure. But in modern Western society, which is dominated by the new global religion of scientific materialism that denies there is another reality besides the physical world and universe, these gifts are seen as a sign of mental illness, and they are suppressed generally, usually by labeling them as depression or schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. And then the medical industry prescribes toxic drugs that don't allow the person to explore and develop these abilities. They just numb them out, try and actually reduce these symptoms. They're just masking the underlying awakening, and actually preventing that awakening from happening, instead of allowing the person to explore and develop these abilities in a way that serves others, as happens in traditional cultures. So these so-called psychic abilities are the basis for an expanded awareness that leads to greater empathy and love than is normal, and an ability to tap into the transcendent, miraculous dimension beyond this world. And so in section 25 of the Manual for Teachers, Yeshua asks and answers the question, are psychic powers desirable? To address this question. And, he says in summary that the answer, maybe we have a summary here, let's read the summary. Just read that summary, Alain.
There are no unnatural powers for me, and believing in powers that don't exist is an appeal to magic. However, I recognize that I have many abilities of which I am currently unaware. As my awareness increases, I might develop abilities that surprise me, but none can compare to the joy of remembering who I truly am. All my learnings and efforts are directed towards the ultimate realization. I accept that certain psychic powers align with this course. Communication for me isn't limited to the world's recognized channels. These limitations, often based on fear, hinder my direct experience of perfect love. Transcending these limits makes me more natural, not more special or magical.
So just pause it there. And what he's saying is that, these abilities can be used as communication tools to help you communicate with the spirit, with God, and with your brothers. And that can be very helpful if you use them correctly. So the new abilities I may acquire in my journey can be helpful if directed by the remembrance of perfect love, but they should not be ends in themselves or used to prove anything, as this would delay my progress. So it's very important that we don't attach our personal identity to these abilities. As he says, pure formless awareness of perfect love gives no special favors, and all powers are available to everyone. So this is what often happens. People go, oh, now I'm the psychic one, and I have psychic powers, and that makes me very special, more special than anyone else. And then I derive a personal identity from that specialness. Well, that's a misuse of the power. That's what he's saying. Okay, and carry on. Genuine abilities are not used for deception.
Oops. I've got a tickle. Oh, good. Could you read that?
Okay. I'll have some water. Genuine abilities are not used for deception, and what is used for magic is useless to the remembrance of perfect love. Unusual abilities can be tempting, but strengths turned to weakness are a tragedy. Anything not given to the remembrance of perfect love is given to weakness and fear. So he's saying that these unusual abilities can be very tempting for the ego because they make us seemingly special, different, separate, special, superior to others. And that's a temptation for the ego. It wants us to believe that this is the case. But strengths turn to weakness are a tragedy. Is anything not given to the remembrance of perfect love is given to weakness and fear. It's quite a choice. There's no middle ground.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Even as I move away.
Even as I move away from valuing material things, psychic powers, excuse me, I still got a frog in my throat. Powers may still have the power to deceive me unless I change their purpose in my mind. They can become unreliable and lead to more deception. Every ability I develop has the potential for good, especially if it is unusual. So-called psychic abilities, when used in the service of the remembrance of perfect love, can be channels of hope and healing. Needs to be lifted up. Anyone who has developed these powers has simply let go of some limiting beliefs in their mind. However, using them for further self-imprisonment is a mistake. The remembrance of perfect love needs these gifts when I offer them. Sorry, got a frog in my throat. And when I offer them only to it, I will feel deeply grateful and perceived everything truly.
Yeah. So thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it's all or it's either one or the other. But we can't, as the ego, the limiting belief, have the idea that this is our abilities, because that's just going to lead to more self-imprisonment. It's just a mistake. If you're thinking it's coming from the separate self,
Yeah.
you have to offer it totally to the remembrance of perfect love. And that's when it'll be perceived truly, which I suppose we know by the experience of how we feel, is whether it's coming from the ego, because it can feel contracted, or it can go over the top and excited and elated. Yeah, so it's varying emotions.
Yeah, a lot of variation in the emotions, but our job is to use whatever abilities we have to awaken. So your psychic powers, if you have them, are there for your awakening and to help others awaken. And we can look to Yeshua. Yeshua had various powers, phenomenal powers, and he could raise the dead. But he used them in the service of spirit, always. Used them, in a considered way. Wasn't just going, oh, well, here's my power, I'm just going to do it willy-nilly and not, consider the effects.
Did Ramana, Ramana, the other sage, did he have the abilities to do, raise the dead or heal?
As far as I know, he never raised the dead, but he had some abilities for sure. People would see him. They'd just seen him inside, and then they'd come outside, and they'd see him sitting outside, and they'd go, "Well, how did he get here so quickly?" I've just seen him sitting in deep meditation inside the ashram, and then I come outside, and he's sitting on a rock outside the ashram. How does that work? Well, he's projected his body into another place.
I see, yes.
So these kinds of siddhis or powers are, quite well known in these advanced mystics and yogis. But interesting, Ramana was really good as well, because he never made a big thing of it. It wasn't about the powers. He would play them down. He'd go, well, it doesn't really matter. All that matters is, are you accepting the teaching? Are you letting go of the separate self? Are you accepting the true self? Am I helping you to awaken? That's all that matters.
Yeah.
So, the powers are only used in one direction, to awaken. And that's essentially what Yeshua's saying. So then just read the key message to summarize the whole thing.
Yeah. I recognize that my natural abilities, including psychic powers, can aid my spiritual journey if directed by the remembrance of perfect love. These abilities should not be ends in themselves, but tools to facilitate my awakening. When I use psychic powers wisely, they contribute to my realization of who I truly am.
A long way of saying it contributes to the at-one-ment. And, if you watch The Chosen, you see that Yeshua was very conscious of the fact that these powers needed to be used wisely. He didn't just do miracles willy-nilly. There was a consideration to it. You'd go, okay, he only raised the dead, so he raised Lazarus at the very end of his ministry, because he knew that power would not go down well with the Sanhedrin, and it would probably lead to his crucifixion. So by raising the dead, he effectively condemned himself, his human self and his body to death, which of course none of his disciples realized what was really going on. But there's an awareness of these of using these powers wisely. And so he's asking us to do the same. If we have any kind of insights, guidance, wisdom, use it for the at-one-ment, use it for guidance, use it to help you stay on track and in tune with spirit, your source, and all your brothers.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's summary of key message. We'll just dive into that of psychic powers. There's also a really good recording. Let's go back here. A 25-minute TED talk by a guy who spent over 30 years studying shamanism in indigenous cultures, a documentary photographer and filmmaker. Really fascinating. I thought it was definitely worth a listen if you haven't listened to it. So he talks about how these indigenous cultures would handle, what we would label as mentally ill people with these so-called disorders like schizophrenia, bipolar, and that they saw that these people had gifts. They just needed to be correctly managed. So the existing shaman would mentor usually a teenager who would start having these kinds of experiences. They would pick them out and they would mentor them to be the next shaman in the tribe. And so, the tradition would continue. In Western society, we just drug them. He told a really tragic story about one young man who was on so many drugs. At some point, he was on like 15 different types of medication. And he was saying, I was so confused. I didn't know what was me anymore, and I didn't know what was the medication, the side effect of the medication. I'm vomiting all day, and I'm just a mess. It absolutely messed him up. And eventually became homeless. He just couldn't, he couldn't reintegrate into society. Well, in a traditional culture, he would have become a shaman and probably very useful and had a function in that society. And then, in the West, we say we're more civilized. It's just ridiculous. There's no understanding of these kinds of psychic experiences, and a very rigid, one-dimensional approach to handling them, based on scientific materialist paradigm, which says, well, we'll just control your state of mind through your brain and your biochemistry. So we're going to drug you to manipulate your biochemistry so that these kinds of symptoms that you're having are going to be suppressed. But we have no idea how all these chemicals we're giving you interact, because no one studied it. It's just a bizarre approach to anything. You have no idea, what's going to happen when you treat someone 15 different types of medication. Do you? Because no one studied the interactions between them, and in that particular person, everyone reacts differently. So it's really a rather an insane way of treating what is actually a gift. This is the point he's making. This is a gift, and correctly identified and channeled, it can be very helpful to others in that society. As we saw with shamans in the indigenous tribes. Essentially, Yeshua was a shaman. He came into his culture with these extraordinary abilities, and he kind of blew them away. It was like, well, he brought in something new and fresh, and a different perspective on the whole religion and the culture, to evolve it and to grow it out of what had become quite stuck and stagnant. And that's what spiritual, and both of them in today's world would probably be diagnosed as being on the spectrum, and some kind of mental disorder, and if the psychiatrist got hold of them, would have been drugged to prevent exactly the awakening that was needed for them and for the society to progress. So yeah, fascinating talk. Watch it, listen to it when you have a chance, if you haven't already. So that leads us into where we are now, our session, and nice preparation for today's lesson. Okay, so let's jump into that, shall we?
Yeah.
I'm going to just bring it up. Where are we? We're at 129. Okay, so if you can read this one, Elaine, kindly, in the original and the alternative. I don't mind reading the original if you want me to.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Sharing. Yeah.
Beyond this world, there is a world I want.
And alternatively, there is a reality I want beyond this world. Yes. I'm all for that.
Stating it explicitly. So there is a world I want. I changed it to reality because it's not really a world. It's another reality, an alternative reality. I want beyond this world. And there's a picture of a chap, staring up into the sky on a particularly brilliant night. So there's this yearning in all of us to find this other reality. So he says, this is the thought that follows from the one we practiced yesterday. That's really going to be the same. You cannot stop with the idea the world is worthless, for unless you see that there is something else to hope for, you will only be depressed. Let's read that in the alternative.
Yeah. This is the thought that follows from one I practiced yesterday. Oh, and two as well. I cannot train of thought with the idea the world is worthless, for unless I perceive that there is something else to hope for, I will only be depressed.
My emphasis is not on giving up the world, but on exchanging it for what is far more satisfying, filled with joy, and capable of offering you peace.
My emphasis should not be on giving up the world, but on exchanging it for what is far more satisfying, filled with joy and capable of offering me peace.
Think you that this world can offer that to you?
Do I really think this world can offer this to me?
Well, so read it from the top.
Yeah. This is the thought that follows from the one I practiced yesterday. I cannot stop my train of thought with the idea the world is worthless, for unless I perceive that there is something else to hope for, I will only be depressed. My emphasis should not be on giving up the world, but on exchanging it for what is far more satisfying, filled with joy and capable of offering me peace. Do I really think this world can offer this to me?
Good question. So what's he saying there in summary?
Well, it's just saying to have a little think about what the value of this world is offering us. And it's saying that we may concede there is no loss in letting go of the thought of value here. But it's saying that really the world we see is unstable, cruel, it's unconcerned, and it's a world of time where all things end, and
Yeah, that's to come, all to come. In this one, he's really just saying, don't emphasize giving up the world, because that will just make you depressed,
Yes,
which
it does.
is what we face. Okay, well, I'm giving up what I perceive as valuable. And the
Mm,
ego goes, well, what's the point then of continuing? What's the point of any of it? What's the point of life? It can be, it's called
yeah,
divine ennui. It's, a sense of sort of some kind of despair and depression, because what's the point of any of it? But if I focus on exchanging it for what is far more satisfying, filled with joy and capable of offering me peace, then I can live in that joy and that peace while I'm still here. And I can have quite a happy dream. So I recognize my experiences aren't ultimately true, but I'm still going to have experiences in time and space while I think I still have a body, aren't I? So as well make them happy experiences. And
yeah,
I
because
do
that,
that by just letting go
yeah,
of
I
letting
empathy.
go of this world and embracing the joy and the peace that lie beyond it. I think this is
Oh,
where a lot of spiritual seekers go wrong, is they focus on letting go, denying the world, but then you've got to replace it with something else.
that's what the
Otherwise,
problem
you'll be
with me.
depressed.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, getting a bit of that because like obviously my little dog or the kittens or whatever it is, or something that I value in my little world. Well, I've got to let go of all of that if I want to find the truth. And it does leave you feeling a bit like, oh, well,
Hmm.
yes. So you've got to see it
Yeah,
through.
and that's very common. This is why it's not an easy thing to do, because it
Yeah.
feels like we give up something of value. It feels like we're losing something. The ego says, "This is crazy. This is asking you to give up everything that's of any value. Don't do
Yeah, and
that.
I've gone through that. Yes, I have gone through that
Don't do that.
and still am.
Stay in this. These things have value. They have a meaning. They have a value. They're important. So you can still value them and somehow practice this course. But that's not the case. You can't really value them because you're valuing an illusion.
Mm.
So
It's
it's
difficult to
it's
let
it's to go
go.
beyond them to an
Yeah, you
underlying
need,
sense of
yeah,
peace and joy. There's an awareness that underlies all that
that's the one.
will
Yes,
change it.
yeah.
That's what we're seeking. Okay, can you access that awareness moment by moment, and then can you perceive these temporary forms? Whether it's another person or an animal or an object, can you perceive all of those with this awareness? That's the question. Because this awareness
Yeah.
will then inform all of your perceptions. And the underlying love and peace and joy that you experience is then not of this world, even though you're able to infuse your perceptions in this world with that awareness. And that's the art of it. And that's not
Mm.
an easy thing to do, to get that right.
No.
That's a lifetime's practice.
Hmm.
But that's why we practice diligently. So we're able to let go of any attachment to this world, allow this other awareness to come, what's in the background to come to the foreground, and let this non-dual, pure formless awareness of perfect love guide your thoughts and your words and your actions. This is what we're here to do. So he says, it might be worth a little time to think once more about the value of this world. Just read an alternative. There's really nothing much to translate there. So,
Yeah.
the personalization.
It might be worth a little time to think once more about the value of this world. Perhaps I will concede there is no loss in letting go all thought of value here. The world I perceive is indeed merciless, unstable, cruel, unconcerned with me, quick to avenge, and pitiless with hate. It gives only to take back its gifts and takes away all things that I have cherished for a while. I cannot find any lasting love here, for there is none. This is the world of time where all things end. Yeah.
Okay, so what's he saying there?
Well, is that not just the one I've just done? Just,
No, you did number one.
oh, right.
Hmm. It's very simple message, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing complex about the teaching.
No, it's just
It's
putting it
just
into
he's just
simplest.
telling it like it is. He's saying, look, this is what it is. This is why the world doesn't work. This is why there's, this all this lack of love, and it's so unstable, and it's very cruel, and it seems to be unconcerned with you, and it's quick to avenge, pitiless with hate. We've all experienced this.
Mm-hmm.
These are common human experiences that make us, really, if we believe in the world is real, it makes us sad, and it makes us, unhappy, potentially deeply unhappy.
Mm.
But if you can understand that all of this is just an illusion, then it's all based on a false idea, which has been projected out, and then these are the consequences of the falsity, the false idea. Then it becomes okay. All right, it's just a false dream, just a tiny mad idea that's got way out of control. I'm dreaming a dream, but I can awaken from the dream, and love is still there. But I need to recognize that I won't find lasting love here. How can I? Because everything I love here is going to fade away and die, including myself, my parent identity, and my body is going to fade.
Mm.
This is the world of time where all things end. Nothing lasts, in other words. So he's just being very, very explicit about the nature of the dream. It's, as a result, quite a tough lesson. It's not the easiest lesson to accept. But if you do, he's saying this is going to set you free, because you're going to stop valuing what is really valueless. If you keep valuing a world that is valueless and meaningless and trying to find meaning and purpose in it, you're going to keep being disappointed, and you're going to keep being hurt by it, aren't you?
Yeah.
So he's got to get us off that. He's saying, look, you're basically addicted. You're addicted to this world, and it's not serving you, and it's going to hurt you time and time again. So I've got to free your mind from this addiction by just telling it straight exactly what is really going on here. And I hugely appreciate his honesty. He's not sugarcoating anything. He's not telling us any half truths or untruths to try and make it easier for us. He's just giving it to us straight and saying, well, accept the truth or not. But this is the ultimate truth. Okay, so anything else on that?
That's
Let's go
good.
into
Mhm.
then.
Yeah, that's
So
good.
is it a loss instead to find a reality when what we're losing is impossible?
So I
Just
just
reading the
reading the
alternative.
alternative. Yeah. Is it a loss to find reality where losing is impossible, instead where love endures forever? Hate cannot exist, and vengeance has no meaning. Is it lost to find everything I really want and know these states have no ending and will remain exactly as I want them throughout time? Yet even they will be exchanged at last for what I cannot speak of, or I go from there to where words fail entirely, into a silence where the language is unspoken and yet surely understood. It's just saying that we find a reality and losing is impossible. There's just love there. There's no hate or vengeance. It's uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
How can this be loss? He's saying, if everything is there, everything's perfect, how can there be any loss in that? The ego tells you that there is, but it's a liar and a deceiver. It's just trying to convince you that its world is worth saving. And the Holy Spirit's saying, just let it all go. None of it's worth saving at all. Okay, so number 4. Let's read this in the original and the alternative. So I'll read the original, you read the alternative.
Yeah.
So communication, unambiguous and plain as day, remains unlimited for all eternity.
Communication, unambiguous and plain as day, remains unlimited for all eternity.
And God himself speaks to his Son as his Son speaks to him.
And pure formless awareness of perfect love itself speaks to its extension as its extension speaks to it.
The language has no words. What they say cannot be symbolized.
Would you be able to move that up a little bit? Our language has no words, but what we say cannot be symbolized.
The knowledge is direct and wholly shared and wholly one.
Our knowledge is direct, wholly shared, and a holy one.
How far away from this are you who stay bound to this world?
How far away from this am I who stay bound to this world?
And yet, how near are you when you exchange it for the world you want?
How far away from this am I who stay bound to this? Oh, and yet, how near am I when I exchange it for the reality I really want?
And from the top,
communication, unambiguous and plain as day, remains unlimited for all eternity, and pure formless awareness of perfect love itself speaks to its extension as its extension speaks to it. Our language has no words, but what we say cannot be symbolized. Our knowledge is direct, wholly shared and wholly one. How far away from this am I, who stay bound to this world, and yet how near am I when I exchange it for the reality I really want? So it's just saying that communication is plain as day. It remains unlimited in all eternity. So this language has no words, so it cannot be symbolized. And we've got direct knowledge, which is shared from the Holy One.
which is a remembrance of perfect love. So we're in communication, unambiguous, plain as day. So, and it is. I mean, this is not a complicated course, is it?
Mm.
The way it's communicating, the language is actually straightforward. It's simple. Particularly in these lessons, the text can get a little bit more convoluted. But the essential message is very clear. And this message is being communicated over and over to us to remind us that this isn't reality. Don't treat it as reality. Don't judge it as reality. This is not reality. And of course, the ego on that point is always going to be at odds with the Holy Spirit, because the ego says, no, it is reality. There is a separate self that's experiencing the separate reality. It's all real, and therefore the thoughts and emotions are justified. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So read number 5 in the alternative.
Now the last step is certain, and I stand only a moment away from eternity. Here I can only look forward and never back to perceive again the world I do not want. Here is the true reality that comes to take its place as I free my mind from little things the world tempts me with to keep me prisoner. If I do not value them, they will disappear. If I value them, they will seem real to me. I've just seen this last step is certain, and we're only a moment away from eternity. We can look forward, never back. And this is the true reality, which takes the place as a free mind. So as we free the mind from the little things the world tempts us with to keep us prisoner. So when we don't value them, they will disappear. But if I value them, they will appear real.
Yeah, my value of anything is what gives it its reality. And this is the simple truth, which we have to learn in this world. So in my perception, if I value it, then it's real for me. If I don't value it, then I'm saying that it's unreal. Value and meaning and reality all go together. It's all bound up, which is why I spend so much time on meaning, beginning of the workbook. What is the meaning of things? Because meaning and value are bound up. And then we know 129 lessons in, but he's back on the value. Now he's talking about values. What do you value? So then number six. You can read that in the alternative.
Such is the choice. What can I lose by choosing not to value nothingness? This world holds nothing that I really want, but I really do want what I choose instead. I accept it today. It waits only for my acceptance to take the place of all the things I have sought for, but do not really want.
Thoughts on that?
Well, it's a big ask for some, because we do value things in this world, don't we? But yes, if you accept, then the gifts are, well.
Yeah, that's the whole problem, which is why we're here, why we're attached to various aspects of the world. Everyone has their special attachments, don't they? Some it's relationships, or a special relationship particularly. Others it might be money or work or substances, cars, whatever it is. But what the Holy Spirit's asking us to see is that it's all the same. Essentially, we're addicted to the world. And we're addicted to these images in the world. And that's the problem. As long as that addiction continues, we will struggle, we will suffer, we will die. So we have to, we're all addicts. We have to clean our minds. We have to let go of the addiction to the world. So everyone, this is the universal problem of the world. Everyone walking around in the world is addicted to the world. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. If they'd free their mind from the addiction, they would leave. But we think we need the world in order to be a separate self, in order to get some pleasure, in order to fulfill our desires. And there's a whole personal story that seems to be unique to each person as to, what they need the world to do for them. Those are called your special attachments, special values. And Yeshua here is saying, Just let them go. Practice your willingness to make this change. 10 minutes in the morning and at night, once more in between. Okay, so beyond this world, there is a world I want. I choose to see that world instead of this. Or here is nothing that I really want. Let's read that in the alternative. Beyond this world.
Beyond this world, there is a reality I want. I choose to perceive that reality instead of this one, for there is nothing here that I really want.
And he's asking us to close our eyes and go into the silence. Watch the lights that are not of this world light one by one. So where one begins, another ends, loses all meaning as they merge into one. So you may have light experiences in meditation, but if you don't, it doesn't mean the meditation's failing. Some people just experience it differently. So they don't necessarily see any light, but there's a feeling of a lightness, of some presence that's lightened their mind. That makes sense.
Yes.
All right, so today I'll read the original, you read the alternative. Today the lights of heaven bend to you to shine upon your eyelids as you rest beyond the world of darkness.
Today, the light of pure formless awareness arises in me as I rest beyond the world of negative awareness. It's your turn.
Yeah, here is light your eyes cannot behold.
This is awareness my eyes cannot see.
So you see, we're translating the light as awareness.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it is. So whether you see a light or not doesn't really matter, because the awareness is beyond concepts of physical light. It's just an awareness. And yet your mind can see it plainly and can understand.
And yet my true awareness can experience it clearly and understand.
A day of grace is given you today, and we give thanks.
Today I realize, the day of grace is given to me today, and so I give thanks.
So this day we realized that what you feared to lose was only loss.
Today I realize that what I feared to lose was only loss.
And then read it from the top.
Today the light of pure formless awareness arises in me as I rest beyond the world of negative awareness. This is awareness my eyes cannot see, and yet my true awareness can experience it clearly and understand. A day of grace is given to me today, and so I give thanks. Today I realize that what I feared to lose was only loss.
Yeah.
So I realize my only fear is loss. You mean a loss of things or objects or people?
Yeah, I'm actually fearing that I'm losing, but what I'm actually fearing to lose is just loss. The whole system is a thought system of loss, sacrifice, loss, scarcity, death. So what I feared to lose, everything that I valued, is actually just loss. All of it could be summarized in one word. It's the loss of love and peace and joy. That's what this world and this thought system of the ego is. A thought system of sacrifice and loss. Well, why would you fear to lose loss? If you lose loss, then what's left is only gain, is only, positive and happy and loving and peaceful. But we got so addicted to the idea of loss and sacrifice that it's very hard for us to give it up, isn't it?
Mm.
It just seems to be such a entrenched part of life. Well, there's this negative side to life, and there's loss. Everything fades away and dies eventually, and in the human psyche, that's very, very deep seated. We're born with that, psychological misperception, but it seems to be real and true because everyone believes in it. If you turn around to people and say, well, actually, death isn't real, actually only eternal life is real, most people think you're mad.
Yeah,
Even
true.
if they're Christians, they'll say, well, there's evidence that death is real because people die all the time. And I've experienced that in my life. Everyone's had an experience of death if you lived long enough. I've experienced that, so therefore death must be real. Therefore eternal life cannot be so, because death contradicts eternal life, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the split. That's the dichotomy. You never reconcile those. How can you have eternal life and die? Eternal means it goes on forever. Therefore, there's no death that's possible. And Yeshua came, his final miracles were, first of all, the first one was to resurrect Lazarus. So he's really saying this, death isn't real because he's just asleep. Use the word sleep. Well, I've just woken him from his sleep. So he's come back to life to show people that, death isn't real. And that was just a demonstration of eternal life. And then, he was crucified and he resurrected himself to show that death isn't true. Death isn't real. In the most graphic way possible. No other human being, as far as we know, has done that. Certainly not so publicly. Demonstrated that this thought system of death is simply not true by being able to resurrect others and himself. And he needed to do that to convince his disciples, who didn't really understand what he was teaching. They didn't really get it. He had to demonstrate it so clearly so that they would go out to all the known world at that time, and they would preach this message of eternal life. And they would be able to do it with absolute conviction because they'd seen it, they'd witnessed it with their own eyes. So he knew that that was necessary in order for his message to spread to, around the world. Which is why, he said crucifixion has to happen. He knew it, it had to happen. Crucifixion, resurrection had to happen to make his teaching come into a world teaching. Because he was really confronting the ego's thought system of loss and sacrifice as majorly symbolized in death, and saying this is not true, and I will demonstrate that. Okay, so now I understand. Just read that one, last one. Now I understand there is no loss.
Now I understand there is no loss, for I have perceived its opposite at last, and I am grateful that I have made my choice. I remember my decision hourly and take a moment to confirm my choice by letting go of whatever thoughts I have and contemplating only this. The world I see holds nothing that I want. There is a reality I want beyond this work. This world.
Beyond this world, yeah.
Yeah.
That could be a summary of the whole course, couldn't it?
Yeah.
To summarize the course in 2 lines. Well, there you go. The world I see holds nothing that I want, but there is a reality I want beyond this world, and I'm dedicating my life and my mind to that reality, to finding that reality, to living in that reality, even while I seem to be living in this world. But there's this lesson's a great one because there's both. He's saying the world I see holds nothing that I want. That's step one. Step two is I must embrace this other reality. There is a reality that I do want beyond this world, because that stops me going into this divine ennui, this despair. Because there's a reality that replaces the one we've let go of, and is by comparison beautiful, and it can't hurt us. All I see holds nothing that I want. There is a reality I want beyond this world. Okay, so any thoughts on that?
No, very good lesson. Very good.
It is a good lesson. Yeah, very good. So so time 8:05. So to go at 9. So we can do a meditation on it for about 20-25 minutes. I'll leave us half an hour of text to do, half an hour to do the text, probably not enough to do the whole section. We can make a start, or we can just do the meditation and call it there, because I'm guessing after meditation you probably won't want to go into the text.
No, so maybe do the text, a bit of text, although yeah, do a little bit of text first.
And do some text. Okay. Yeah, I've got until 9:30, so if you want to stay till then, you can.
My dad will want his room back, you see.
Okay. You can't go anywhere else.
Not really, no, because he likes to go to bed now. You'll hear me talking, so best not to.
Okay. All right. So well, let's jump into a bit of, we finish with a 15-minute meditation. So do 45 minutes of text.
Right.
All right. So this one is called Christmas is the End of Sacrifice. We're almost exactly 6 months away from it, which is interesting. So some kind of opposite polarity going on there, in the middle of summer. He talks about the true meaning of Christmas, and we will cover this again in 6 months over Christmas, because it's worth looking at again when the season's actually upon us. But nevertheless, the message is powerful. So just read it in the alternative. Save time.
Which one? Are we doing the text now, or were you doing the meditation first?
Do you want to do the text, and then we can do a
okay, right.
meditation to close the session if you like.
Yeah. I will not fear to recognize the whole idea of sacrifice solely of my own making, and I will not seek safety by attempting to protect myself from where it does not exist. My companions and my source have become very fearful to me, and I want to bargain with them for a few special relationships in which I think I perceive some scraps of safety. I will not try any longer to keep my thoughts and the pure formless awareness that has been given to me apart. When I bring them together and perceive them as they really are, the choice between them is nothing more than a gentle awakening, and as simple as opening my eyes to daylight when I have no more need to sleep.
So what's he saying there?
Well, it's just saying that we won't fear to recognize sacrifice as solely of our own making. We will not seek safety by trying to protect ourselves where it doesn't exist. It's just saying that we want to bargain for a few special relationships when we think we perceive some scrap of safety from them. What it's saying is we no longer want to keep these thoughts and away from the pure formless awareness. So when we bring it together and perceive them as really as they are, the choice is between them and nothing more than a gentle awakening. So to open our eyes to the daylight rather than to sleep.
Yeah, good summary. Bargain with them for a few special relationships when the great ocean of truth is there. Okay, so I will read this in the original and then you read in the alternative.
Yeah.
So the sign of Christmas is a star, a light in darkness.
The sign of Christmas is a star, a light in darkness.
See it not outside yourself, but shining in the heaven within, and accept it as the sign the time of Christ has come.
I will not perceive it outside myself, but shining in the state of pure formless awareness within, and I accept it as the sign the time of my true self has come.
He comes demanding nothing.
It comes demanding nothing.
No sacrifice of any kind, if anyone is asked by him.
No sacrifice of any kind and of anyone is asked by it.
In his presence, the whole idea of sacrifice loses all meaning.
Hope I'm running out of battery. 2 seconds. I'm just going to get my lead.
Okay.
It's looking for a... Oops. Just a second. I'm just going to go on because it's just literally on 2%. I just get running out of battery.
Down here.
Yeah.
School.
Oops. There we go.
More boxes and very kind to us. And
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we? Number 5?
Yeah. I'm just plugging in now because, like you say, I've only got 1% left. Right. Let's get a socket. That's it. Right. Where was I? Number 5. Needs to be right. In its presence, the whole idea of sacrifice loses all meaning.
Well, he is host to God.
What number is it? Number 6.
Number 6.
Oh, right. For identifying only with it gives rise to pure formless awareness of perfect love.
So that's what it means by host to God. That it gives rise to this state of pure formless awareness. And you need but invite him in who is there already by recognizing that his
And I only need to
host is one and just can abide with him there.
Sorry, I'm jumping in. And I only need to invite the experience of pure formless awareness that is there already by recognizing that it is compatible only with oneself and no thought other than its oneness can exist in pure formless awareness of perfect love.
Love must be total to give him welcome, for the presence of holiness creates the holiness that surrounds it.
My love must be perfect to welcome my true self, for pure formless awareness of perfect love extends my true awareness that surrounds this self.
No fear can touch the host who cradles God in the time of Christ, for the host is as holy as the perfect innocence which he protects and whose power protects him.
No fear can touch the true self that invites the experience of pure formless awareness in the time of the awakening to my true self. For this self is an aware as the perfect innocence, which
As aware. For this self is as aware as the perfect innocence.
as the perfect innocence which it protects and whose power protects it.
Okay, I think read it from the top. So quite a bit there.
I'll just take your seat. The sign of Christmas is a star, a light in darkness. I will not perceive it outside myself, but shining in the state of pure formless awareness within, and I accept it as the sign the time of my true self has come. It comes demanding nothing. No sacrifice of any kind and of any one is asked by it. In its presence, the whole idea of sacrifice loses all meaning, for identifying only with it gives rise to pure formless awareness of perfect love. And I only need to invite the experience of pure formless awareness that is there already by recognizing that it is compatible only with oneself, and no thought other than its oneness can exist in pure formless awareness of perfect love. My love must be perfect to welcome my true self, for pure formless awareness of perfect love extends my true awareness that surrounds this self. No fear can touch the true self that invites the experience of pure formless awareness in the time of awakening in my true self, for this self is as aware as the perfect innocence which protects and whose power protects it.
Yeah, which it protects and whose power protects it. So what, in summary, what's he saying here?
Well, the sign of a Christmas star is a light in darkness. So we don't perceive it outside. It doesn't demand anything. No sacrifice of any kind is asked. And in this presence, the whole idea of sacrifice loses all its meaning.
And he's saying it's already there. This is the key point of any teaching that's in the perennial philosophy tradition, that it's always already there. The truth is there. So you don't have to go and find it or discover it or invent it or create it or grow into it. It's there in you already. And it's just a recognition of that which is already there that's required. And that's what awakening is. You're awakening to what's already there, not trying to invent it, not trying to create it.
So which is, again, back to that, being aware of that pure formless awareness, that which is, eternal, but it's all in the now, this moment. But it's keeping each moment like that moment. So just keep continuously being in that moment.
Because there's a continuous awareness. This awareness is always there. Otherwise, you would simply have no life, no existence.
Mm.
So this awareness gives you life. It's ever present. It's, in the Bible they say God is closer than your hand and your feet and your breath. I'm paraphrasing, but something like that. And it's true because it's your own fundamental awareness. It's that awareness without which you would have no life.
Yeah.
It's just that we're aware of it because we've got all these thoughts going on. Various thoughts and emotions cover that awareness over and cause you to have another experience other than this fundamental awareness. And the whole journey is just to return back to that original awareness and let go of everything else. So it's very simple. So there's, he's talking about the language and pure formless awareness and true self. And you can get quite confused with that. But actually, cut through all that. What he's saying is, well, there's just one awareness. It's your awareness. It always has been your awareness. And you simply need to accept it. Recognize that it's already there. This is what differentiates the perennial philosophy teachings from other teachings. In other teachings, they'll say, no, it's not already there. You've got to go find it. You grow into it. You improve yourself. When I started Lifebolt, we had a slogan, create yourself, which my partner at the time came up with. And I had to change that. So I was like, well, once you learn more about this, you can't create yourself. It's not possible to. In fact, that's the whole delusion. You can't create yourself. You are still as God created you, and nothing that you have tried to create matters at all. That's all just illusion. That's the perennial philosophy. That's the non-dual teaching. That's all he's really saying. And that's what Christmas really means. And think how distorted and twisted Christmas has got. How many people understand that?
It's just all about material gifts.
It's just all about, well, it's about family, it's a holiday, it's time for, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Be jolly,
but often the true meaning of this, Christ awareness is lost. How many people go into Christ awareness over Christmas? It's more like, oh, well, I'll just pig out on, food and drink, which is hardly Christ awareness. It's attachment to food and drink. And then you've got, generally all kinds of family dynamics going on. So there's all kinds of special relationship stuff going on, which, often isn't very holy at all. And, the whole thing just becomes it's like, okay, well, we just spend our time preparing for a meal and buying presents and giving presents, and then we have a meal, and then we're all tired and we just kind of conk out and, relax for the rest of the day. But where's the spiritual practice? Some people go to church, given they do that. The majority of people don't, and it's just like a pagan festival. Oh, well, we just eat, drink, and be merry, and the Christ awareness is there. If we celebrated Christmas truly, it would be a day of fasting, a day of prayer, deep meditation, prayer. Okay, so let's connect, use this one day dedicated to Christ to really deeply connect with this awareness. And we don't need the presents and all this other stuff. It's just noise. It's just distraction from the essence of what Christ Mass really is. Celebrating the birth of the Christ who symbolized this most purely in the world as a man, symbolizing that, do honor to him then, which is, follow his examples. And I don't think he'd be saying dish out a whole lot of presents and, focus on the body and focus on form and focus on food and drink. And so it's just a misperception, a misinterpretation of the whole meaning of Christmas. And that's entrenched in our culture globally. How many people really know the meaning of Christmas? Some people, can't stand the false meaning of Christmas. They hate Christmas. It's all a bit false and shallow, and it reminds them of the illusions of the world and the loneliness of the world as well, often. Christmas, a lot of
Oh,
people
yes.
feel lonely because they're looking still for some kind of satisfaction in special relationships rather than within. And if you find the true Christ essence within you, you can never be lonely because it's with you always. So Yeshua said, I'll be with you always, even unto the end of time. Because this Christ presence is with us always if we just become aware of it and accept it. Okay, so let's carry on then. This Christmas, give the Holy Spirit everything that would hurt you.
Yeah. Just with me being on my iPhone. This Christmas, I give the remembrance of perfect love everything that it would hurt me.
Everything that would hurt me, yeah?
Yeah.
So just give it up. I let myself just read this in the alternative, it's not to translate.
I let myself be healed completely so that I may join with it in healing, and I celebrate. I release together by releasing everyone from my misconceptions, perceptions, misperceptions along with me. I will leave no one behind, for release is total, and when I've accepted it with Yeshua, I will give it with him. All pain, sacrifice, and littleness will disappear in this relationship, which is as innocent and powerful as our relationship with our source. I will become aware of any pain and allow it to disappear in this presence. And without pain, there can be no sacrifice. And perfect love must be present without sacrifice.
Okay, what's he saying in this one in summary?
Well, it's saying if we give the remembrance of perfect love everything that's hurt us, then we let ourselves be healed completely. And we won't leave anybody behind. So release is total. So all pain, sacrifice, littleness will disappear in this relationship, which is innocent and powerful as our relationship with our source. So we become aware of any pain and just allow it to disappear in this presence. And without pain, there can be no sacrifice. So perfect love must be present without sacrifice. So we know that we're in this perfect love when we're in perfect peace. And yeah.
Yeah, sacrifice is just another name for the ego's thought system.
Mm-hmm.
Sacrifice means that you've essentially sacrificed the truth and your true awareness, and you've given that up for a false awareness. That's the sacrifice of God on the altar of the ego, which is why you can never reconcile these, because the one denies the other. You believe in the ego, you must sacrifice truth. You want to believe in truth, you must sacrifice the ego, because they contradict each other. He's saying the real meaning of Christmas is to get rid of this whole thought system of sacrifice, pain, sacrifice, littleness. In this one day, you can correct it all, you can heal it all, you can awaken to the ultimate truth, that you are the Christ, you are as Yeshua was. But instead, we feed our faces and give each other presents. That's the ego for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm being a little bit like, so I'm not saying that there's not some love that can come through there, but it's a very it's very covered over, isn't it? It doesn't show very easily because you've got all these distractions going on, material presence, and then loads of food and drink, and alcohol sloshing around mostly with people, and you know, it's like, well, how's that going to awaken you to the ultimate truth of who you are? Of course, it's not going to awaken you. It's all about form. It's all about, in fact, celebrating the sacrifice of truth. These things are the substitutes for truth, which we then, you know, honor. So it's a pagan festival. That's what it is. You really, and which was the origin of it to start with. You know, it was originally a pagan festival, which was designed to celebrate the coming, you know, the turnaround, the solstice, and then, you know, after 3 days, you're heading back to spring. So it's a turnaround from that, you know, darkness of winter, and they just grafted the Christmas onto that. But obviously, it lost, you know, it lost the spiritual integrity in doing it, because Yeshua's message was lost. And that's why it's so confusing, because you've got, you know, the nativity story and Jesus's birth, but then you've got holly and mistletoe and Father Christmas and all of that coming. I mean, it's a jumble. It's a hodgepodge of ideas, kind of trying to merge them into some kind of sensible festival, and it's just not. If you really look at it, it's a mess.
No, it's true.
This is the ego and the Holy Spirit trying to both give their interpretations of, you know, what it means, and they don't reconcile. But you know, we don't have the awareness. Most people don't have the awareness to see this and go, okay, what is this? What is this festival we celebrate every year? What does it really mean? Maybe we could, you know, celebrate it in a different way. How about a day of prayer and fasting? That would be a different Christmas, wouldn't it?
It would.
And people would go, are you crazy? Like, where's your turkey? And, you know, where's the food and drink? And where are the presents? But we just got so used to that.
That's true.
You know, it's become the norm. It's a cultural norm. Everyone does it. But actually, it's idolatry. If you understand the true meaning of Christmas, it's idolatry. It's false.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go on to number 4. For you who believe that sacrifice is love must learn that sacrifice is separation from love.
I who believe that sacrifice is love must learn that sacrifice is separation from love.
Carry on.
For sacrifice brings guilt as surely as love brings peace. Guilt is the consequence of sacrifice, as peace is the consequence of my joining with pure formless awareness of perfect love. Through guilt, I exclude my source and my companions from myself. Through peace, I invite them back, realizing that they are where I invite them to be. What I exclude from myself seems fearful to me, for I endow it with fear and try to cast it out. I think your cursor's on there. Cast it out, although it is part of me. Who can perceive part of themselves as loathsome and live within themselves in peace? And who can try to resolve the conflict of the state of pure formless awareness and victimhood in them by casting pure formless awareness out and giving it the attributes of victimhood and suffering without experiencing themselves as incomplete and lonely?
Okay, so what's he saying here?
Oops. I just I was just talking about the sacrifice. And if you believe in the sacrifice of love, you need to learn that sacrifice is separation from love. It brings guilt, and love brings peace. And guilt is the consequences of sacrifice. And peace is the consequence of pure formless awareness of perfect love. So through guilt, we are excluding our source and our companions from this true self. So through peace, we invite them back. So it's saying that if we exclude from ourselves, what we exclude from ourselves seems fearful. So we endow it with fear and try to cast it out, although it is part of us. So when we see ourselves as loathsome and live within them, self in peace.
It shows it to part of my self-concept. So we projected it out. We try to cast it out. So we project out onto others what we don't want.
Mm.
And then we perceive it as outside of ourselves and we fear it. And if we do this, how can we expect to have inner peace? That's what he's saying. Because you projected out your false self-concept and your guilt and your fear, and then it comes back at you, doesn't it? As you project it out, you see it outside in the world, and it seems to be outside of you and different and separate from you. And you seem to be apart from it, and it seems to be able to attack you. So how then can you live in peace? And who can try to resolve this conflict of the state of pure formless awareness and victimhood in them by casting pure formless awareness out and giving it the attributes of victimhood? So we got everything confused, is what he's saying. We've tried to actually get rid of pure formless awareness, and we've tried to give it the attributes of victimhood and suffering instead. And then we fear it. We go, well, this is terrible. And this all happens when we project out a God and we say there's some kind of fearful, wrathful, vengeful God outside of us. This is what he's referring to. And so now pure formless awareness takes the disguise of this fearful, wrathful, vengeful presence that's going to actually attack you and punish you and destroy you. So it takes on the attributes of victimhood and suffering. And of course, you're going to experience the incompleteness, the loneliness, the fear of this false self-concept projected out onto God. Let's have a look at it in these terms, where we just go into where are we? Sent into hell. There we go. So a natural consequence of the separation, belief in an individual self, the guilt and the sin that you feel for the apparent sin of destroying God or love or oneness, false expectation of punishment appearing real, all of that is entrenched in a concept of a fearful, wrathful, separate God that now seems to be outside of you. You've projected it out, and now it seems to be able to attack you and punish you, and so you fear it. And you've split your mind there. And that what is actually pure formless awareness of perfect love and perfectly benign and harmless has been now given the attributes of victimhood and suffering. Do you see how that all works?
Mm. Oh, yeah. Mm. Yeah.
And, he's just pointing that out very clearly, saying, well, this is what happens when you follow the ego's logic. You will inevitably have to believe in the victimhood and the suffering that the ego's invented for you, and you will perceive everything according to that. Your concept of God, your worldview, your reality, everything is colored by this, by the separate self. And you live in a dark reality because you're not seeing the truth of pure formless awareness of perfect love. It's all been obscured by this darkness. Okay. Let's go to number 5. It's a good one, given what we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
Read an alternative.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it to the right, because it's phone's quite small, you said, but it adjust it so right. As long as I perceive the body as my reality, so long will I perceive myself as lonely and deprived. And so long will I also perceive myself as a victim of sacrifice, justified in sacrificing others. For who could deny the state of pure formless awareness and its source without a sense of sacrifice and loss? And who could suffer sacrifice and loss without attempting to restore their self? Yet how could I accomplish this myself, when the basis of my attempts is my belief in the reality of the deprivation? Deprivation breeds attack, being the belief that attack is justified. And as long as I want to retain the deprivation, attack becomes what I believe will free me, and love becomes sacrifice.
Okay. Thoughts on that?
Well, as long as we perceive ourselves in the body as our reality, then there will be no doubt we will suffer loneliness and be deprived.
And sacrifice and the body go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
You can't believe you're a body and not believe in sacrifice and victimhood. Because the body is limited, the body can get ill, the body ages, the body suffers, the body dies, the body has all kinds of needs. And it's not permanent. It's going to fade and it's going to die. So as long as you believe in the body, you believe in sacrifice. Which is why Yeshua's saying you can't reconcile these. You're either a mind and purely mind, or you're a body, and if you're a body, then the mind is gone from your self-concept. There is no mind. The ego is trying to tell you that. So let's look at the integral model again. It's telling you that the ego is trying to tell you that you're a body, you're a brain, your consciousness lies in your brain function. Without the brain, you have no consciousness, you have no life. And once the body's gone, that's it. So it's trying to make you mindless. It's trying to tell you that you don't really have a mind that's independent of the body, that this constant consciousness is some kind of accidental effect of brain function, and when the body stops, the consciousness stops. I mean, this bizarrely is actually the paradigm. This is what the scientific materialist paradigm believes, and many scientists and seemingly intelligent people believe that, even though there's huge evidence that that's not the case. Things like near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, astral travel, none of this would be possible if your brain was the source of your consciousness, would it? It's not possible then. You couldn't have a near-death experience because the brain is dead. There would be no experience.
Yeah.
After death. And yet people consistently, at least near-death experience, say, well, this is what I experienced. My brain is dead. 15 seconds after you die, the brain function stops. And yet they have this whole experience. So clearly there's another reality that's beyond the brain and the body. And that's been shown over and over in their experience. And yet still the scientific materialists will say, oh, well, that's not evidence enough. Oh, okay, so thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of testimonials of people saying, well, I've had these experiences, is not evidence enough. So what, they're all hallucinating? They're just making it up? How would they make up some of these things? So like they come back and they tell this whole story. I mean, how would they make that up if they just had a nothing experience. And how did they then come back? It's a lie. They were dead. Apparently their brain died, right?
Mm-hmm.
So no brain, and then brain's dead, and then they come back a few minutes, sometimes up to half an hour later, but they were dead. Apparently their consciousness had expired, and then suddenly they magically come back to life. How does that happen?
Mm-hmm.
If their brain was dead and the brain is the source of consciousness, then it wouldn't be possible. So there's abundant evidence of an internal and interior reality. There is another world, there is another reality, which is what today's lesson is saying. And the body then must be false. You're either a mind or your body. You can't be both. The ego very cunningly has got us to identify with the body to get us to attach to that identity and deny that we even have a mind. Because if I'm just a body and a brain, then I'm a product of body. Then I have these delusions of, well, my body wants this and my body needs this, and my genes are dictating my reality. And these kinds of delusions perpetuate in the scientific materialist paradigm. And the ego has tried to make us mindless to say, well, how can you change your mind if you don't even have a mind? It's very clever, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Deny you have a mind, how can you change it? And then it focuses its attention on changing the body. Oh, well, I'll make my body better, more functional, prettier, fitter, stronger, healthier, or whatever. But all of that is a misdirected focus because you're focusing on what's unreal instead of on the real.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you can't, identify with the body at all. And any attempt to do so, correctly perceived, is just the ego's attempt to try and maintain its existence in and through the body identification it's trying to sponsor. So, it's very important to see that clearly and not be sidetracked, because there's many teachings out there that try and make the body real. But you must deny them in order to find the truth, which is what Yeshua's teaching us. Okay. So on that note, if you want to end at 9, shall we do a meditation to finish the session?
Yeah, that would be good. Yes, that would be good. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. No
Great.
problem. Let's do the med on lesson 129. Okay, so meditation or lesson 1. Just making yourself comfortable, getting into your favorite meditation posture, sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, your back straight, cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and start off with a nice deep breath in through the nose. So you're breathing in and you notice how the stomach rises and the chest rises and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And you pause at the top of the inhale. Just scan your mind now for any thoughts that attach you to this world. So anything you believe is true in this world, anything you value, might seem to be positive. You value your special relationships, you value an object, you value your pets. Just be aware of all of these things, bring them into mind, and remind yourself that beyond this world, there is a reality I want. Beyond all these things I'm valuing, there is a reality I really want. I choose to perceive that reality instead of this one. For there is nothing here that I really want. And then exhale. Have a sense of just blowing away these false idols, as Yeshua calls them, these dreams, these desires, just letting them all go to the nothingness they really are. Blowing it all out, letting it all go. With the breeze of your breath to the nothingness that it really is. Close your eyes on the world you see. And in the silent darkness, watch the lights that are not of this world light one by one. Until where one begins, another ends, loses all meaning as they merge into one. So just breathing in and out through your nose, observing the breath. Allowing the breath to flow in, the breath to flow out. And let the breath carry you into this silence. Maybe you have a feeling of light, maybe you visualize lights coming on in your mind. Or at least a sense of a lightness and a peace comes over you. Peace of perfect love. The awareness of perfect love. Bending towards you, says Yeshua. Today, the light of pure formless awareness arises in me as I rest beyond the world of negative awareness, negative awareness that negates this awareness, pure formless awareness. This is awareness my eyes cannot see. So if you don't see any lights, that's quite okay. It's not really a visual thing. It's more of a feeling. This is awareness my eyes cannot see. And yet my true awareness can experience it clearly and understand. Day of grace is given to me today. So I give thanks. Today I realize that what I feared to lose was only loss. The entire thought system of the ego, which causes me to value things in the world, it's really just a thought system of loss. What I feared to lose was only this thought system of loss. See that very clearly. Again, breathe in the light. Be grateful for the choice that you've made. Confirm your choice by letting all thoughts of any value in this world go. By saying the world I see holds nothing that I want. The world I see holds nothing that I want. But beyond this world, there is a world I want. There is a reality I want beyond this world. Say that to yourself. The world I see holds nothing that I want. There is a reality I want beyond this world. And then rest in this reality. You've invited it in to your awareness. Just rest in this transcendent reality beyond this world for a couple of minutes of deep silence. There's really nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Nothing else to think about. Just allow yourself to experience this transcendent reality beyond this world. Invite it in. Just be open-minded and allow the experience to arise. Whatever needs to happen will happen. You're trusting the Holy Spirit or the moments of perfect love to direct this whole experience for you. So now just sink inwards into the light. Into a reality beyond this world. Sink inwards, go deeper and deeper with each breath. Just observe the breath flowing in and out through your nose. And sink inwards to the light of this true awareness. So just gently come up with awareness of another reality, and you bring yourself back into awareness of this world via your body senses, your breath. Breath led you into it, let the breath take you out of it. So on the count of three, open your eyes. One, just breathing in, observing the sensations around the breath, noticing the stomach rise and the chest rise, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Perhaps you clench your sphincter muscle to lock the energy in. Maybe you feel a little tingling up your spine as the energy moves up. into your heart center and on up into crown of your head, pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. You just scan your mind now and notice any attachments or anything that you value in this world, anything you desire, anything you avoid, craving and aversion, and just remind yourself that the world I see holds nothing that I want. But there is a reality I want beyond this world. There is a reality I want beyond this world. Exhale on the truth of that. Notice how the air flows out, chest and the stomach suck back in. Feel the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Noticing what you're feeling and touching. Maybe there's a subtle flow of air on your skin. Notice that. Breathing in. Again, noticing what you're smelling, perhaps tasting, touching, feeling, and hearing. But in this very clear, calm, aware state, so there's no judgment, no naming, labeling, or judging of any of these sensations. They're just there, and the pure formless awareness, perfect love underlies them all. And now on the count of 3, you open your eyes. So take a moment, just look around the room, just observing various objects in the room around you. With detachment, so just notice that this awareness you hopefully connected with quite deeply, this other reality you connected with quite deeply over the last 15 or so minutes is still there, underlying your sense perceptions. Look at any object, notice the same awareness. You can close your eyes. Maybe that helps you access this awareness more deeply. And open your eyes. Notice this awareness again. And just rest in this awareness. Just anchor this awareness in. Set the intention to stay here in this awareness. Use today's lesson to keep you connected to that. You can listen to a short breath break if you like, or a longer meditation once more today. And just remind yourself that the world I see holds nothing that I want as you look around. But there is a reality I want beyond this world. So say those words to yourself one more time to close the meditation. The world I see as you look around, just gazing at various objects in the room around you. The world I see holds nothing that I want, but there is a reality I want beyond this world. And you just hopefully experienced that quite deeply for the last 15 or so minutes. So I wish you much love, peace, and joy in that reality. Thanks for joining, Elaine, and have a loving, peaceful, joyful evening. Namaste.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much, Jono. Namaste.
Okay, so I'll see you tomorrow sometime, Elaine. Should we do yeah? Can you do an afternoon
tomorrow
session?
evening, anyone? Yeah. Okay, could do. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, should we do tomorrow afternoon, 1:30? That work?
Yeah. Yeah. That should work. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Okie doke.
great. See you then.
See you then.
All
Bye.
right.
Namaste.
Okay. All right, so thank you to Elaine for joining. It's a wrap for today. If you enjoyed the session, then do subscribe to the channel. If you're not already subscribed, you can also head over to lifebuild.com and subscribe to the Telegram group on that, which will get you access to some of the material I shared up front. as well as to a daily lesson, daily quote, daily lesson, and a short meditation or breath break to help you practice the lesson. So check it out at lifebuild.com and subscribe if you'd like to get that sent to you via Telegram. Just need to have Telegram active on your device, but that's not a big deal. It's a free app. It might be a better alternative than WhatsApp. And you'll then also be notified whenever I go live, so you can join these live calls if you'd like to. Okay, so hope to meet you on the inside, and wishing you much love, peace, and joy. Namaste. Which means the true self, light of true awareness, and me acknowledges and honors that same light of true awareness in you. Wishing you much love, peace, and joy in that awareness. Hopefully see you soon. Bye for now.